What was supposed to be a routine interview promoting Mark Wahlberg's latest film turned into a headline-grabbing controversy when the actor was unexpectedly asked to leave the set of Good Morning America following a heated on-air clash with anchor George Stephanopoulos. The segment began cordially enough, with Stephanopoulos asking Wahlberg about his transformation from troubled teen to respected actor and philanthropist. But the tone quickly shifted when the conversation turned to Wahlberg's outspoken views on faith, cancel culture, and what he called Hollywood's hypocrisy. Wahlberg began defending his decision to fund and star in a series of faith-driven projects, saying, "I've lived both sides of the street. Now I'm using my platform for something that actually matters." Stephanopoulos pressed back, questioning whether Wahlberg's positions alienated marginalized communities or contributed to political polarization. "Do you think your views come across as judgmental to others who don't share them?" he asked. Wahlberg, visibly irritated, replied, "No, I think standing up for values is different from pushing an agenda. Maybe that's something this show should consider." The exchange grew colder by the second. When Stephanopoulos brought up Wahlberg's past legal troubles and asked whether those incidents undermined his moral messaging, the actor bristled. "I've paid my dues. I've done the work. If you want to keep dragging me back, maybe we're done here," Wahlberg snapped. At that point, according to insiders, a producer signaled to cut the segment short.
Wahlberg removed his mic and
stood up, throwing a final glance at Stephanopoulos before being quietly escorted off set, leaving a stunned silence in the studio and an audience unsure whether they had just watched a celebrity meltdown or a moment of personal conviction. Asterisk within minutes of the segment airing, social media ignited. Viewers who witnessed the awkward exchange in real time immediately took to platforms like X, Instagram, and TikTok, dissecting every word, every glare, every breath between Stephanopoulos and Wahlberg. Clips of the moment test, especially the line, "Maybe we're done here," circulated rapidly, some users applauding Wahlberg for not backing down and others defending Stephanopoulos for holding celebrities accountable. Hashtags like #Wahlberg walkout, #GMA clash, and #George V's Mark shot into trending territory, turning a tense interview into a full-blown cultural flashpoint. Conservative commentators praised Wahlberg for standing up to what they saw as a biased media, framing the interview as yet another instance of mainstream outlets silencing voices of faith and traditional values. "They invited him just to ambush him," one post claimed. On the other side, progressive voices argued that Wahlberg should have expected hard questions and accused him of wanting to preach without being challenged. "A national platform, drop a moral bomb, and expect a free pass," another user wrote. The media quickly joined the frenzy. Entertainment outlets called it the most uncomfortable GMA moment in years, while political shows analyzed the subtext of the exchange in terms of America's deeper culture wars. Meanwhile, ABC issued a brief, carefully crafted statement acknowledging the segment's early termination and reaffirming the network's commitment to diverse viewpoints and respectful discourse. Despite the diplomatic tone, sources close to the production hinted that Stephanopoulos had gone off script, pressing Wahlberg in ways that surprised even the control room. If true, it only fueled the fire. What had started as a movie promo had now transformed into a debate over who controls the conversation and what happens when someone refuses to play along. Asterisk as the story dominated headlines. The fallout took on a life of its own. Wahlberg, typically measured and press-savvy, went radio silent in the immediate aftermath, canceling a handful of scheduled appearances without explanation. His team, however, issued a short but potent statement. Mark believes in honest dialogue, not ambush journalism. He will continue to speak from the heart, whether it's comfortable for others or not. That was all it took for the media fire to reignite. Overnight, Wahlberg's supporters amplified the message, declaring him a symbol of resistance against media overreach. Several fellow actors and public figures voiced their support, including some surprising name celebrities who had previously faced backlash for expressing personal beliefs. The incident even found its way into Sunday sermons and editorial columns, where faith leaders and commentators used it to spotlight what they called a growing intolerance for Christian values in Hollywood. Meanwhile, Stephanopoulos, a veteran, journalist with decades of experience, found himself unusually at the center of controversy. Though he refrained from addressing the moment publicly, sources close to ABC reported a tense atmosphere behind the scenes. Staff were divided. Some believed the anchor had every right to ask tough questions. Others feared the interview had crossed a line. Debates erupted within newsrooms and on morning panels about the role of journalists. Should they challenge a guest's worldview or simply provide space for their perspective? While ABC refrained from disciplining Stephanopoulos, insiders confirmed that producers had been instructed to review pre-interview protocols to prevent similar breakdowns. What remained clear was that the clash had pierced beyond entertainment. It tapped into a deeper societal fatigue with performance politics, staged apologies, and the disappearance of civil disagreement. And Wahlberg's walk-off, whether viewed as defiance or defensiveness, had become the newest lightning rod in that storm. Asterisk as the days passed. The media frenzy evolved into a broader conversation about the nature of redemption, celebrity authenticity, and who gets to define the limits of respectful dialogue in today's hyper-polarized culture. Talk show hosts, podcast personalities, and editorial writers from across the ideological spectrum began to weigh in, turning the Wahlberg-Stephanopoulos incident into a symbol of a larger societal fracture. Some argued Wahlberg had been unfairly targeted because of his faith and past, particularly his open embrace of Catholicism and his efforts to finance faith-based films like Father Stu. Others countered that public figures who speak boldly about morality should expect their own histories to come under scrutiny. What both sides agreed on, however, was that the confrontation felt different from the usual celebrity media tension. It wasn't about a scandal or a press misstep. It was about the increasingly rare space for disagreement without disgrace. The fact that Stephanopoulos, a former political advisor turned respected journalist, was involved only deepened the complexity of the moment. He was no sensationalist, which made the clash feel more consequential. Behind the scenes, ABC was reportedly flooded with both praise and backlash, some viewers applauding the show's fearless journalism, others threatening boycotts for what they perceived as calculated disrespect. At the same time, Wahlberg's social media quietly surged in engagement, with thousands of supportive comments pouring in, many thanking him for walking out with integrity. The episode even sparked parody skits on late-night television, some mocking the seriousness of the moment, while others subtly hinting at deeper truths. Yet through the noise, one thing was clear. This wasn't just a PR incident. It had struck a national nerve. It revealed the uncomfortable but necessary question. Facing modern media and celebrity alike, is there still room for hard conversations that don't end in cancellation or conflict? Asterisk in the weeks that followed as new headlines rose and the immediate heat of the clash began to cool. Both Mark Wahlberg and George Stephanopoulos seemed to retreat from the public narrative surrounding the confrontation. Wahlberg returned to promoting his film through alternative media outlets and podcasts more aligned with his values, often referencing the GMA incident, only indirectly framing it as a lesson in choosing your battles and standing firm when people try to write your story for you. His team strategically leaned into the narrative of quiet conviction, positioning him not as a victim, but as a man unafraid to walk away from a conversation that lost mutual respect. Stephanopoulos, meanwhile, resumed his hosting duties without issuing further comment. The reports suggested ABC's top brass privately urged him to maintain a more balanced tone in future interviews with controversial guests. Viewership metrics showed a brief spike in ratings for both GMA and Wahlberg's film project. But analysts noted the real takeaway wasn't in the numbers, it was in the cultural reverberations. People were still talking about what happened, not just in terms of celebrity drama, but as a reflection of deeper divides. Media versus message, faith versus scrutiny, confrontation versus conversation. Whether you believed Wahlberg was unfairly grilled or simply dodging accountability, his walkout had crystallized something few network moments ever do: an unfiltered glimpse into how tension, ego belief, and live television can collide in real time. And while both men may have moved on publicly, their exchange lingered in the public psyche as a moment that wasn't just watched, but felt. In a media landscape built on polished sound bites and rehearsed charm, it was the awkward, unscripted silence between two public figures that said the most asterisk.